When Benjamin Franklin exited the Constitutional Convention, he was asked by a woman, "Sir, what have you given us?" His immediate response was, "A republic, ma'am, if you can keep it." Yet most Americans today have been persuaded that our nation's governmental system is a democracy and not a republic. The difference between these two is essential in understanding Americanism and the American system.
Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Janine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. You know, justice is about accountability and consequences. Justice occurs when truth is put to the lie, when the facts and not the politicians tell the story. Justice should always be swift and certain, but in the Obama administration, it is slow and uncertain. And as we found out this week, the Obama administration puts political lies over American lives. We have been waiting for Benghazi justice ever since September 11, 2012. And this week, a bipartisan Senate committee, Democrats joining Republicans, issued a scathing report blaming Hillary Clinton's State Department for deaths that were preventable and for the inadequate security that was provided to her friend, Ambassador Chris Stevens, and 3 other Americans. The report makes clear that in the months before the attack on Benghazi, the intelligence community provided, quote, ample strategic warning that U.S. facilities and personnel were at risk in Benghazi, that militias and terrorist-affiliated groups had both the capacity and the intent to strike U.S. interests. That from the report. And this from the Pentagon, AFRICOM, CIA, DIA, Stevens Security Detail, Stevens himself, not to mention 20 separate security incidents at that compound in the months before September 11th. But we already knew this, didn't we? We knew there was no protest. And everybody knew there was no protest, except, of course, the New York Times, who would never let the facts get in the way of shielding the Obama administration. The truth? The FBI and the CIA admit they knew from the surveillance cameras, yet 2 weeks later, the president goes to the United Nations to blame the massacre on that despicable anti-Muslim video. Folks, I read this report. The word video is mentioned once. That's it. Once. And that's in connection with a protest in Cairo.
There was supposedly protest, and something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. People could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we have 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest? Was it because of guys out there walking when I decided to go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
When did we first hear Benghazi? A year and a half ago. And this map made its way around the news cycle. And I looked at this map, and we saw Benghazi, and we saw those eastern areas of Benghazi, of Libya. And that's where the revolution started. And that's where Muammar Gaddafi said, I'm going to make the streets run red with blood. And everyone said, that is unacceptable. We will step in. Looking back on it, man, we stepped in.
Right.
Right in it.
Right, exactly.
And that's why we shouldn't have, and that's why we should not have.
Let's remember that
Benghazi
was the reason that President Obama gave for our involvement. It was to protect the citizens of Benghazi. But
Indeed, Hillary Clinton testified before the House and the Senate today on the Benghazi attacks, fielding at times fawning questions from her supporters and pointed criticism from her detractors. But it was this exchange with Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin that's been getting a lot of attention.
We were misled that there were supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
جزيرة. Oh my God. يا شباب صغيرة. كذاب is dictator. Yeah. Dictator for sure. Dictator. لا. بس الأمريكان or Fortas. Gaddafi say Al Jazeera Al Qaeda. How are you? Good. Lange. يا جماعة وصلوا يا جماعة شوية هذا هو المعلومات.
We begin with a story of sex slaves, underage girls, a billionaire, murder, a prince, and at least one former U.S. president. What has been the biggest scandal in the UK since World War II has now come to the U.S., and it may involve former President Bill Clinton. The story surrounds this man, billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, who served time in 2008 for soliciting prostitution. That charge came as part of a plea deal. It all began in 2005 when Epstein was investigated after a woman reported that he paid her 14-year-old daughter $300 for sex. And since that initial claim, there have been more than 40 women who have come forward with claims that Epstein is a sexual predator and that he not only abused them, but shared them with famous and powerful friends. Well, flash forward to today, and a lawsuit is underway in Palm Beach, Florida. In that lawsuit, multiple mentions of former President Bill Clinton, who reportedly took multiple trips to Epstein's private island. You see it here. It's called Little St. James. It all happened between 2002 and 2005. Now, according to testimony in the lawsuit, at least one woman on that compound was there unwillingly. She is referred to as Jane Doe 102. She was forced to live as one of Epstein's underage sex slaves for years and was forced to have sex with politicians, businessmen, royalty, people working in academics, etc. Now, to be clear, in 2008, when the plea deal happened, Clinton cut off ties to Epstein, but maybe not. According to the UK Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that Clinton was friends with an unnamed woman who kept images of naked underage children on her computer, helped to recruit underage children for Epstein, and photographed underage females in sexually explicit poses. Now, while Clinton cut off ties with Epstein, this woman's abuses apparently did not end their relationship, as she was reportedly one of the 400 guests at Chelsea Clinton's 2010 wedding.